I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord,
Smith
give me
Lake.
a sign.
I've been there a couple of times. I didn't get to watch much of live, but I paid attention on day one. This video is probably going to come out. I'm making the video Saturday. This is a Saturday. Still got one more day left. Now, y'all know I do my open pick'ems, and I picked basically all live scopers. I picked Taku. To at least win his little bucket. Well, he's leading the entire event. I think he's leading it, or he's in second. I think he's in second. I looked down the list. Yeah, Taku's in second. I didn't get to watch much of live today. I was driving back from Dallas. My kids had games. So looking at it, Robert Gee, he's live scoping. Shurik, Jay Shakurik live scoping. Corey Johnson live scoping. Cody Huff live scoping. I'm sure Kyle is. I'm sure JT Tompkins is. Justin Hamner, Tyler Williams. I assume Cooper Gallant is, but I hadn't seen much of. I didn't watch much of live. I just know these other guys are live scoping. No big deal. So I think it ended up being top 10. I also picked Justin Atkins. I think he barely missed the cut. Fojita's in there at 13th. Live scoper. Like, it turned into be live scoping event. It wasn't a live scoping event on day one. And what I mean by that is we got some guys up in there. We had Hunter, right? We had Steve Kennedy. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw how they were fishing, especially Hunter, I started rooting for him. And here's why. I was rooting for him and I was curious. Two different things. We went to Smith Lake. I've been there, I can't remember, two times. I've been there at least two I can remember. I remember one time we brought it up that we were catching them on Shaky Head. That was the springtime. And then we went there another time in the fall. Now in that fall event, I found out some things. Like I started paying attention. I made some videos about it. Okay. Here's my opens video. I think the first time I went there, I was fishing the tour. It was the first year I didn't even have a GoPro. I didn't even know what one was barely. I wasn't doing any kind of YouTube videos. So none of that was on video. The second time I went to Smith Lake, I videoed everything. It was an open. I think it's probably the only time we fished all the opens. I don't remember if that was when we fished all the opens that year or it was just a regular open and I filmed it. Either way, I remember it very vividly because I went down there and saw a bunch of wolf packs. It was awesome. All I did was go down the bank and I was mainly throwing a jig, swimming a jig, and I was throwing jigs on boat docks and I was catching them. It wasn't like phenomenal. I thought I had a pretty good plan going. I found some giant wolf packs of like big ones. And that's what I want to talk about. Now, came down in the tournament, I only saw one wolf pack like that. And I threw in there and there was like 10 over 3 and one of them made it and I set the hook and I must have just had the pinchers. Either way, it made me mad that the only school I actually saw like that, I didn't even capitalize on. However, and I didn't do that good on day one, I'll be honest. Like, if I had just caught that one, I'd have been fine. Just that one fish, I think I only had 4. The next day, that's usually my moving day. That's the day that I throw all my practice out. And I'm just gonna start somewhere. I'm gonna start doing different stuff. And I don't know why I didn't do this, but I picked up, at the time, I picked up a little plopper. And luckily within like minutes, I catch one.
Pretty close.
Nice. I think he's good.
Take a measure?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I kind of did my own thing in this pocket, came back out of there, started throwing it again, caught one on a jig, and then
baby. Yeah.
Big, and then caught another one on plopper. And I'm like, that's all I need to know.
I thought it could be bigger where you were keeping him down for so long.
I just didn't know where he was going.
Could be a line burner, won't he?
I'm gonna put my head down and go do that. I did. Caught some good ones.
Oh yeah.
Not bad one. Usually it takes one bite from me. I'm like, okay. And I will say that where I had been catching these fish on a jig looked nothing like that. Like there was a transition from that big rock to like dirt. You can't see it yet, but I was like, well, let me just start on this big rock. I went in there, fished the dirt, caught one, came back out, caught one, swim the jig on that bigger rock, bluffier type stuff, and then caught another one. And I was like, okay, let's run this for a while, and kept on doing it. Caught another big spot, caught some on a jig as well that day. Still threw my jig around, still caught some like that, kind of mix it up. Here's the problem with throwing that, and this is part of the fishing. I had a couple miss, I had some big ones miss. Then, that was like earlier on. Then I went about, I guarantee I had 10 to 12 miss it throughout the day. They either followed it or missed it throughout the day, and I never landed any of them. Like I never got a hook in any of them. They either followed it or blew up on it and missed. I don't even want to get into, I know what everyone's going to ask, why didn't you throw this, why didn't you throw that? Look, the only way to do this was covering miles and miles of shoreline to get those bites. It's too hard to throw another bait and cover that much water. Maybe they would have bit it, but then you still don't get the bites, right? You get half as many bites. And so at the time I'm like, okay, the next one, I just happened to, one missed it, no big deal. Another one missed it, no big deal. I'm getting the bites. And then you look up at the end of the day and they don't bite it. Now I still caught them fairly good. I saw the potential and I didn't really practice for that. And I think I missed it. I missed it. So I was excited to see Hunter go and do that. And I was excited to see what he was gonna do with it. What happened? Smashed on day one, dropped down a little bit lower, and then him and Steve Kennedy, I know Kennedy wasn't doing that, but even Jordan Lee, those guys just couldn't keep it going, right? I mean, their weight started to drop. I get it, I feel for them. When you fish that way, you gotta deal with sun, the clouds, the morning time bite, all these different things. And it's kind of sometimes hard to compete with that live scoping deal, because a lot of that stuff that we used to worry about as fishermen, the sun, the clouds, and all these different things, when they push up, them missing, kind of goes away a little bit with live scope. Like they don't really have to worry about that as much. And I say I have to put this in there because anytime I make a video like this, I mention live scope. Every single time I get someone in the comments going, saying something like, this is not a for or against live scope, okay? I'm not for or against it. I don't really care. I'm just stating something, okay? Golly, I get tired of dealing with those people on the internet, idiots. Now, all I'm saying is, if I was live scoping and that's all I was doing, when I live scope, I don't worry about none of that. I don't worry about none of them clouds or sun or anything. All I care about is usually wind. Can I get out there and do it? Is it going to blow me around where it's going to make it harder on me? Other than that, I don't care about any of that other stuff. Like, it's easy. When I'm fishing up shallow like that, I'm sitting there like worried about the sun, the clouds, like a little bit of a ripple might hurt me. How much water can I cover? Are they going to push up at certain times of the day? Stuff, things like that. It's just a different style of fishing. Are they going to miss? I mean, you throw a little minnow out there and they bite it. Chances are you land them, you hook them, they don't miss it. Just a different way of fishing. It's just times have changed. I don't know if you can ever win that way anymore. You can, man, to put it together for 4 days is tough. It's tough. It's obviously the way to win a tournament, a one-day event. I mean, there's a reason he was in the lead. So it's one of those deals for most guys out there in a one-day event. Most of us aren't fishing 4-day events. You can go win a tournament like that. But yeah, over 4 days, it's hard to just, you're fishing for a lot more fish out there live scoping. And it's just a different deal. But I was pulling for him. Why? Because I can pull for whoever I want to. And I like watching that. Like, those clips were awesome. Like the Steve Kennedy one, and then Hunter catching like he was. I mean, I like those clips. Like, I live for that. I never get tired of doing that. I like watching fish on live scope too. It's pretty cool watching that stuff. It's still just not the same. I mean, when I say it's not the same, it's cool. It's just different. You know, it's hard for me because I did that for 10, 15 years. And I can do this live scope stuff too. It's just a different deal. You know, certain things I really like to do. I really like to frog fish. Give me a chance to throw a frog, I'd rather throw a frog than any of that other stuff. I'll throw my popping perch out there. I'd rather do that. But it was pretty cool to see. Like I said, those videos with that style of fishing that I was doing a couple years ago, does it ever have a chance to win? I don't know. I kind of thought at one point in time it did. I just don't know for 4 days. And that's kind of what, I mean, you talk about that. If you took LiveScope away, would it have won that way? I think so. I do. I think that would have, I think it would have won. And here's why. This is what I've always said. I've said this in many videos. And some people don't kind of understand this, but so there's certain styles that sometimes dominate events. Okay. And then there's a couple guys out here that do good and they're like, oh, look, they didn't do that great. They did good, but I don't know if you could have won that way. Well, let me throw something at you. A lot of times when we go to these lakes, you might have had like guys all drop shotting on Smith Lake. Like, say a whole bunch of guys without live scope were just drop shotting the lake. So say you had 100 guys out there and 80 of them drop shotted. And like 4 guys went through whatever down the bank. And those 4 guys, 2 of those guys made the top 10. And the rest of them, 8 out of 10, the other 8 were all drop shotting. And you're like, oh, drop shotting is the way to make the top 10. Like, that was the dominant way to catch them. Well, if you look at it that way, right? But yet, what if you put 80 guys running the bank and only 20 guys drop shotting? Like, what if you made 80 guys run the bank that way? Would the weights be higher? The weights might have been higher running the bank. They just didn't want to do it, and they ended up drop shotting instead, right? So it kind of depends on how many people did it. You're always going to get a higher number. If a higher number group of people all drop shotted, there's obviously a better chance of more people drop shotting in the event, right? That's just common sense right there. So it's crazy. I don't know how many people fished the way Hunter and Steve did. And I could be wrong, maybe a bunch of them, because we don't know. It doesn't show live on all those guys. And so maybe half the field was doing that. I'm not sure. I would have liked to have known. That'd have been something interesting. I know when I was down there, I never ran into anyone doing it. I know some other guys were doing it. I just never ran into it. So when I drove around the lake and I'd see 30, 40, 50 guys a day, I was the only one doing this. I never ran into anyone else doing it. So I kind of assumed, hey, it's kind of just me. So I'm interested to see, or I guess we'll never know unless people just came out there and said it. But yeah, it's one of those things that, yeah, it might have been the dominant pattern only because more people did it. But I was interested to see, I wanted to see one of those guys going down the bank, throwing a top water, throwing a big swim bait, doing something, just freaking watching them big old spots or largemouth. I caught mainly, I don't know, man. I saw largemouth and spots in wolf packs. I caught both doing, like, you'd catch either or. It was pretty cool. You never knew what you were gonna catch. But Smith Lake, I like Smith Lake. I like going there. I think it was a pretty cool place to go. I would love to go back. You're not gonna catch these giant bags, but I think it's a pretty cool lake. It's one of those lakes I really like going to. It was the one, like, I give it 2 thumbs up when I go there. There's some of these lakes that we've gone to in the past, whether it be FLW, Bassmaster, like some of these lakes just don't fish well when you put that many people on it. Smith Lake was one of those cool places that fishes big. You can kind of do what you want to do. Pretty cool lake. That is my Smith Lake observation. All right, check out those videos if you want. See you guys. That got lucky. Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. It's gonna be close, guys. I don't think he's gonna make it. He is long though. Number 4. Good one.
That was quick.
Might be able to do that all down.
Shaded. He loaded up good.
Yeah, there it is. 5. Don't have to worry about him.
No, he's good. Not gonna help you.